We're getting funky. We're getting tighty. Oh, yeah.
Squeeze me.
Welcome back. Welcome back to another installment of Golden Craftcast. I'm Sergio, one of your hosts. We got Manny here. Look at this
What's
guy.
happening? We're in the space.
Well, I'm in a Neo Town type of thing. You're in Shroomland. You look like you're part of a Mario Party map.
Like Super Mario Galaxy or something.
Nah, more like Mario Party map. That'll be a sick ass map though. I'm not gonna lie.
In space.
It does look
There's all
like
kinds of shrooms.
it does look like the graphics like from the Switch. Like it just look clean, just very glowy, very
Yeah,
vibrant.
very glowy indeed.
We're both very glowy, indeed. Speaking of
Where did
glowy,
you go?
I don't know. I don't know.
You're in outer space now, buddy.
What's going on? The hell? That was
There
weird.
he is. There he goes.
Sorry. What the hell did I hit? Hit anything? That was weird. 6 cents. I don't know. Anyways, we are about to talk about a very interesting topic. I mean,
Yes.
we're both
And we're
adults
also
here.
doing this remotely today.
Yes, we are doing it remotely today. We are talking about, I mean, both of us are big fans of animation, talk about it all the time. Not just like, 2D animation, 3D animation, CGI, you know, there's animation in that too. We wanted to talk about this for a while because I've actually took a course on animation, history of animation. And nowadays you watch like different animations, not just like for kids, it's just like for adults in general. And we're here to talk about the adult animation, you know?
Yes. Adult animations, aka your Simpsons, your King of the Hills,
All
your
the all the all the shows that
Ren
you
and
watch
Stimpies.
all the shows that you watch as a kid and you don't even get any of the context, but now as an adult you're like, "Oh,
This is way better. You just learn to love it more as an adult, I
yeah,
feel.
exactly." I think that's why it's like better to watch it as kids, but then like you like it as a kid and then later on you watch it and you're like, "Oh, like you get the context."
I mean, to me, even Cowboy Bebop was like that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really watch. I remember watching it as a young kid, but I was like, "What is this?"
It just
As
looked
a
kind of
young
like
kid, but
moody and dark.
watching the whole series now, it's like, dude, this is crazy sick.
Yeah.
But I talk about that a lot.
All right. Before we get started, let's go with our beers. What you got?
Okay, first things first. Well, let me tell you why I got this beer. Because
Okay.
immediately I saw the bottle, and I was like, "That looks like a cartoon," so I had to get it. And I've never had it before. I think I've had it maybe in Mexico, but this is Superior Pelita. I don't fucking know. But look at this bottle. It's so cute. It looks like a freaking
That's definitely an import.
red stripe or something.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
That's why I got it, because it looks like a cartoon.
It definitely looks like an import. But I don't know. I guess the shape of it looks cartoony, but I don't know about the graphics. I went more for the graphics. I've actually got this from
Oh my
Paperback.
god.
Saturday Night Zebras.
Jesus.
Even
That
got the
reminds me of
guy.
that gum, that striped gum with the rainbows. You know what I'm talking about?
Even got a guy. He just slid through the fucking dance floor. He's like, "Yeah, I feel alive, like John Travolta."
Zebras neigh like
It kind of looks like
horses.
John Travolta.
He's dressed like John Travolta in Saturday Night
No,
Fever.
he looks exactly like John Travolta. I don't know. That kind of reminds me of like BoJack Horseman. I never watched the
Yeah,
series, but it's like
that's another
that
good
type of
animated
animation.
series.
Yeah, I've been wanting to
I
get into
watched a
it.
couple episodes of
I've been
those.
wanting to get into it, but it kind of looks like it's like pretty moody, depressing, and like very
It's really
existential.
dry, like dark humor.
Yeah, I
I
figured.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes almost in the same vein as like the Rick and Morty type of humor, but not like the Space Adventure type of stuff. It's more grounded in a way, but maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I won't.
All right, let's try these beers.
Cool.
So mine looks like a Cerveza. Oh, it looks like nice golden ale of some sort. Fits perfectly in this thing. Look at that. Golden.
It's juicy. It's goosey.
Hey Google, turn studio light to white so you guys can see the color. Check this out.
I got a big head. I gotta be careful. That's the only time. That's as close.
Here's Addy.
Cheers from afar. Ding. Damn, I wish I had a sound effect for that. Next time.
Yeah, that's what we need to get.
Yeah, I want
A
to get
sound effect for that.
that. I just drank foam. I don't know if I
It
drank the
kind
only
of
thing.
tastes cidery. Mine kind of tastes like
Yeah.
cider. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I already drank one of these, so for me, it's like there's like it's like pretty bitter. I wouldn't say it's like juicy. It's just like, mm, wait, I need a reminder. It's like very hot forward, like
Hmm.
super hot forward. It's not like tropical. It's not anything. It's just like very hoppy. But honestly, it's not bad at all. It's just I don't know. I just feel like there could be something there. Something just like
Is it
I'm
an
missing.
IPA?
Yeah, it's a. I think it's a West Coast. It's
What's the
a
percentage on it?
yeah, it's a West Coast. It's a 7.2. Not bad.
Yeah,
It's
the West
very right
Coast
there.
usually go for a more dank approach, I feel, with their IPAs. A
Hmm.
lot more
Yeah,
earthy and stuff like that.
very much so. Let's party like it's 1979. Huh? I just barely read that.
This one is like beers. It's like a beer cider.
Check out this little zero right here with the hat. It looks like you.
It looks like he's doing the moonwalk or something.
Is he?
Oh, it's Paperback Brewing Company, huh?
Yeah. Wanted to show that
Nice. This one is Superior
by Superior.
Velita. I don't know. That's what it says. Let me see. Hecho en Mexico de Orizaba, I guess. From Orizaba.
Orizaba.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember seeing little bottles like this in Mexico, but I don't think I tried one like this.
So I actually bought a bottle, or not a bottle, a pack of Asahi, Asahi, Japanese beer.
Uh huh.
Nah, yeah, my sister was there, and then I don't know if she ever tried it before, but I just like let her grab one, and then my mom was there, so I let her get one because she actually likes some poros and stuff, and yeah, we're a big fan over here of like Japanese beers, so I'm probably
Huh.
gonna bring more. Yeah,
Now you know what to bring over for when to get the party started.
yeah.
Some Sapporo or some Kirin Ichiban.
Yeah, it's so weird that like as when we're growing up and we're trying like all these beers, the first thing we want to do is like, oh, like mom, dad, what do you think? It tastes really good. Or like give it to like one of your siblings or something. It's just like you guys are all
Yeah.
together in the pack. But
I
it's
mean,
nice.
I think those are like some of the only beers in most sushi spots that they have like always. It's either Sapporo or Ichiban,
Yeah. It's
you
like
know.
yeah, they're like very good choices. They're like what would we say like both are loggers. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
I mean,
not
they're
too heavy.
crisp, they're light,
Yeah.
they go with fish, sushi,
Yeah.
you know.
It just
This I
complements them.
feel would actually go pretty good with fish. I think I'm starting to learn to pair things more, and this is definitely one of those that would
Yeah.
go with it.
Something you'll definitely like find
By
at
the
a
ocean,
ocean, any like tourist attraction. Every
Mariscos
tourist, yeah,
place. I think these would even be good beers for like a Michi because it's that crisp, you know.
Yeah.
So what's up, man? What are we talking
Nice.
about here?
So I basically, like I said before, I took a class, I took a course, and at the end of this course, I basically wanted to look into like a history of like adult animation, or like, is there some is like what specific animation you want to go? I could either go for like a country or like a specific animation that they didn't talk about in class. So I just chose adult animation because it's like becoming more popular in
Mm-hmm.
today's standards, and it's definitely interesting how it's like evolved. Like, we did definitely grow up with the Simpsons, like Family Guy and stuff, but now it seems like it's like on a different level now. We'll get to that, and obviously we're gonna dive into like this, like our favorite like animations, and dive deep of what they're about. Really,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
Cool.
honestly, I'll just give you like a brief history of it.
Sweet.
What? Sweet.
So I mean,
So
this is a history covering from like when the start of when animation had. Are we talking about Walt Disney here? What are we doing?
yeah, well, I'm not. That's basically just general like animation, but when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
like adult animation, like it's always existed. Like animation, like the way that I define it is like animation with like adult themes or situations that are like more orientated for like adults.
Like Fritz the Cat.
Yes, exactly, and that's definitely part of the biggest history in there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like this thing started like um since the start of like cinema, really, when they started to show like cartoon reels like in the cinema and stuff. They would show like pretty much something like Felix the Cat, or like I should name this all Felix the Cat, freaking uh Betty Boop, especially Betty Boop
Popeye.
and Popeye, yeah, which is actually like both those characters are actually created by like the same creator in that sense.
Yeah, you can kind of see the similarities
Yeah,
in style.
yeah, and a lot of the animation was like a lot of them were like getting most of them were like going into like showing like characters going into bars, or going, or like getting drunk, or having like drug induced like um fantasies, or like hallucinogenic dreams and stuff. And there were also like a lot of suggestive stuff, like especially with like Betty Boop having to like being like Googled by like strange men, and they will like look up her skirt, or like try to undress her and shit like that. And honestly, by today's standards, it's just like, oh damn, like we were fucking like the animators were fucking perverted back then and stuff. And I mean, even like back then, they would actually like see that, and they say like, hey, like our kids are watching this, like I don't think this is okay. And back then, they didn't have any regulations. Like, remember, this is like early cinema, so there wasn't like an MPAA or anything like that. So the closest thing was like
Like if you
certain
could make it, you could
restrictions.
put it out
Yeah,
basically.
like there were certain restrictions, and they actually set up like a restriction in like 1934. They call it the Hays Code, in which like they've actually had to like put an advisory like in whatever like they're about to watch, or restrict down like um the content in which like they were watching. Like if it was like too much for kids or inappropriate for kids, like you had to take it down a notch. And that was the closest thing to like what we have as restrictions and stuff. And that only lasted for like until the 60s. Like the Hays Codes only like was like activated during that time and stuff. But I mean, looking back at it, like people said, like, oh, they were still showing like type of stuff. Like they were still doing whatever they want, because I mean, think about it. Like animators are adults, and adults, they're gonna do whatever the fuck they want, or they're gonna put the things that they find amusing, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, in fact, like the Looney Tune animators, they even admitted that. They're like, "Oh, we just put or like animated the stuff that amuses us. If the kids happen to be amused by it, like that's what they like." And
Yeah.
they did put like a lot of like pop culture references, and very
Hmm.
suggestive stuff, like Bugs Bunny dressed as like a woman or something, and which eventually became Lola Bunny. I don't know. The inspiration for Lola Bunny, I guess. And yeah, they just like started to do that. And once television started like to develop, like they started to make animation more towards like family orientated
So
audiences.
basically, what you're saying is before this time, in a nutshell, it was all perverted.
Yeah, it was not only perverted but also just like showing like drug references and people getting drunk. So it's just like, adults acting like cartoons acting like adults, really, and stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, once television got in there, they wanted to find like an animation that pretty much was more orientated for like everyone to watch, like all the family members could watch. And the one like type of like shows were like the sitcoms, because sitcoms started like at the dawn of like TV, like like I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners, and so they started to draw more on that. So they came up with a new term like anicon or something, or animated sitcoms. That's where you get the terms because they draw
Hmm.
inspiration from those like shows. And you guess which one's the first animated sitcom? It started in the 60s.
Flintstones.
Hmm. And you could totally
Yeah,
see the
I'm on
model.
point.
Yeah, you could totally see the model of that. Fat dude, hot wife, baby, next door neighbors, just like them,
Yeah,
you know? Something
it
that
kind of
the
yeah,
adults
it's
could like.
just like the suburban home kind of deal,
Yeah, because I
you
mean,
know.
that's the thing that they're supposed to relate to, because of course we're living like
And then
after the
after that came
post-war.
the Jetsons, I'm guessing,
Yeah, pretty much
shortly
the
after.
Jetsons, and those are like the more product of Hanna-Barbera itself and stuff. But um yeah, just going forward, like they started doing like those type of animations. Nothing
I
like
mean, I
too
think they
gross or
realized
nothing
it
too like.
sold,
Yeah.
you know.
They had things that were like not as like perverted or like drug use or anything. Everything was just like pretty much solid until the
Hmm.
70s came. So there was a young filmmaker that
I gotta say
he
it like
pretty
that till
much
the '70s came.
until the 70s came. Hey, the 70s were the good times, man, especially for cinema. And it was very experimental, which is comes by my next point. So this guy, we've seen one of his movies, and this guy, like, I seen an interview where he was talking about like him coming up like in the animation department, in animation itself, that he was just sick and tired of like seeing like the same thing over and over again, like the Looney Tunes slapstick, like, oh, we've seen it all before. He himself have actually worked like in, I think, a season of Spider-Man, the 1960s animated series, and eventually he became into his own. And he actually got the funds to like make his own like cartoon that's was more towards adult. And this is actually the first X-rated cartoon that came out ever. Well, not ever, but it was the first one. And I mean, we did talk about it before.
So that was the first one, was Fritz the cat.
Yeah,
So who animated that one?
Ralph Bashki. So Ralph
So
Bakshi, Bash, still can't say his name right. Bakshi, he actually made that cartoon, but also he was responsible for the Lord of the Rings cartoon that came out in the 70s. And he used a lot of rotoscope with that. So he wanted to get into like more into like that dark fantasy aspect of things that we never even saw like before. So Lord of the Rings was one of them. Wizards was one of them. I think there was a movie called Fire and Ice. And that was more like dark fantasy, and it looks pretty sick. Like it was like something we haven't seen before, and it was like, oh damn! Like finally, we got a cartoon that's like badass and just more oriented to like us, like the grown ups and stuff.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Dexter Emily, he just like kind of passed that barrier that cartoons aren't like just for kids. Like they have something to say, and they're like out there. They could be raw, and they could be like, repres be the reflection of like our everyday
Our actual
society.
society, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, this the also like yeah, that was basically the 70s what I found. The 80s they started to incorporate more animation in a particular network. You tell me which network that was? It
I'm
started in the
thinking
80s.
I want to say Cartoon Network.
No, it's
No, that
definitely a
was
cable. It
90s.
was definitely a cable show. But think about like their ads and how they incorporate the anim.
MTV? Was that
Hmm.
MTV? Yeah.
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead, right?
Yep. Yeah. So Beavis and
And
Butthead
they're still
actually,
on. They're gonna do a
yeah,
new movie of
they're
them
gonna do
soon.
a new movie. That shit looks cool. The
Yeah, that comes out.
They actually came from like an anthology series, like an animated series where they had like so basically the head of MTV, he wanted to like have something like pretty much out there, pretty much attractive. And he said that animation is like the gateway of like attracting like the younger audiences and getting the feel for like the artists that they have their music videos on. And they started incorporating like animation like in different types of animation, like in their ads, in their music videos. Even the first music video wasn't it animated, right?
I mean, if you really think about it, like I think when we went back and we talked about the little cabbages, that could have been considered a music video.
The cabbages.
Yeah,
I
remember
mean,
that? Okay,
that
okay, hold
wait, that
on.
was a
We got to
short
give
film,
people
right?
some context
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're probably like, "What the hell are you guys just talking about?" Okay, so um when we did the episode of female directors, I forget what number that is,
Oh, that was actually like a short film, and they
but yeah,
incorporated
that
like
was a
a
short film
yeah.
from one of the very first. We looked at the very first female director,
Hmm.
and it was I forget her name, bro. It's been so long since we
Yeah,
talked
we'll
about
get
her.
that name.
But basically, she came out with this video, and it was to music, and it was like she dressed up little kids as cabbages,
Right.
and like a term of endearment was like, "Oh, my little cabbage," like, and like that was like, so that there was a way of that representing the kids as like little cabbages, like little sweethearts or whatever.
Yeah.
But they go and they do like a little dance, whole like little dance thing, song and dance, and it is a musical. They play music to it and they dance to it. So I mean,
I
technically, like
mean,
those could have been considered some of the first music videos. But I'm talking about as far as
I don't know,
MTV.
man.
Hey Google, what was the first music video on MTV?
I mean, we saw it before. I remember like a couple years back we were watching it on the garage. Well,
Okay.
and we literally said like, "Oh, like this is
What
the
was the
first music
first
video."
video on MTV?
Video killed the radio star.
Video
Ah,
killed the radio star.
Shown on MTV. Video killed the radio star. While the channel's distribution was hard to come by, the rallying cry of, "I want my MTV," became a mantra for consumers.
I want my MPG. Remember they made that a
yeah.
car thing?
Oh my god, that was stupid. I got the
Yeah, that was
reference.
pretty dumb.
Yeah. If anyone got the reference, you're cool. Yeah, so they started doing that. They had a lot of like animations series. Like they had Eon Flux. Um if you were to see that, that's actually it looks pretty sick. Like a pretty sick like science fiction cartoon. They also had Daria,
Didn't they make
the
that into an actual live movie?
yeah, the one with Charlize Theron. But I think they're
Hmm.
gonna do um like a live action TV series out of that because I don't think that one flew by well. But also Beavis and Butthead, Celebrity Deathmatch. What else? Eventually, they did play like other cartoons
Oh,
for
I
other
love Celebrity
networks.
Deathmatch. That was one of the best ones, I think.
Yeah,
Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken was Adult Swim. We'll talk about
Oh
Adult
yeah,
Swim.
that's right. That was Cartoon Network.
Yeah. So,
When did they come out with the adult, like, what was it? What was it called when it was just like the adult only on Cartoon Network?
Adult Swim.
No, I think it was something like a precursor to that.
I don't know. I didn't find it in my research.
Felt like there would have been.
You felt. I think what they didn't mention was like they did have like a little bit more teen oriented cartoons, like late night. But
Hmm.
that was right before like Adult Swim. But um, well, before we get into like Adult Swim, um, the next biggest thing, especially when it came out in the '90s. Well, it peaked on the '80s, like it started to creep up, and it actually started on a uh late night talk show, and became like its own little segment, and then eventually became its own series. And you know what that is, right?
The Moon Knight.
No. What? You are so
No, it was
random.
Space Ghost.
No.
I thought it was Space
No, I'm
Ghost.
not talking about. No, I'm not talking about. Uh, um, I'm not talking about Adult Swim.
I
So
don't
this is
know.
something that came in the '80s. Really?
Why do you have to fucking quiz me? Is my
I
question.
don't
Like,
know.
just fucking say it.
I'm just trying to see like, oh, The Simpsons. Like,
I
oh, I
wish I
get
had the
it.
cocksucker button right now. Jesus.
He's a cocksucker.
Sorry, that was loud. Yeah, it was The Simpsons. It actually came out in the Tracy Ullman show, and the animation was like not there yet, or it wasn't like how we see it as familiarized. And I'm not ready to die yet. And fucking yeah, they started off like a little segment in that show,
Wait,
and
so
then it became like a.
this is you're talking about the very first episode where he goes, "Don't let the bed bugs bite," and you just see his eyes open up in the dark. He's like, "There's bed
That's not the
bugs."
first episode. That was actually from the Tracy Ullman show.
Oh,
That was the
really?
early short.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looks weird because like he had like blue, like Bart had a blue shirt and then like a different color like pants and shit. And then
Yeah.
eventually like they had their own show, and funny enough, Conan O'Brien was actually one of the writers for that show early on before he became like who he is right now. And what do you think
The
about?
monorail. He wrote the monorail episode.
Yeah, yeah, he did, right?
Yeah, he talks about it. I think in a podcast.
Yeah. So
He
I
goes,
mean, a lot of
because he even wrote the music for it.
yeah,
I think too, right?
I think so. I believe so. You'll probably double check on that, but you know,
The pin fell off my pudding can. Use my pen. He goes, use my pen.
yeah. So yeah, early Simpsons was pretty great. I don't know when I fell off, but it became a sensation because it was all over the '90s. I remember I used to watch it at Channel 11 between came out like in two
Right
slots.
after Married with Children.
Right after Mary was shown and right after King of the Hill. It showed up 2
6 o'clock.
times. It's like
Yeah, I
6:30 and
think it
then
was 6.
7:30. Remember it showed up?
Those were the days.
Yeah. People won't know. It's like, now you could just stream it. I'm like, I
I wish there
guess.
was like a Netflix channel that you could stream that was like what was on that day when
I
it
think.
actually aired and watch everything, like even the fucking commercials, or
Oh
skip
yeah,
through
that'd
them
be
if you
sick.
want.
Yeah. Now they have like streaming of like different shows.
Cause
Like
dude, watching the commercials from the '90s now would be hilarious.
they wouldn't be
It's like,
PC.
yeah, fucking blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh yeah, just drink a Kool-Aid. It's like,
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
nerd. It's like
The
kids bullying
Capri,
each
you
other in
have
the
like the
commercials.
Capri Sun commercials, and then you have your Cinnamon Toast Crunch commercials,
It would be like the Nerf gun commercial
and
where
then you
like the
got
kid would come out.
like the McDonald's commercials. Whatever toy was like being merchandised like
But
that
see,
at the
this is the
weekend.
crazy part to me. It's because like it would go cartoons and then it would lead you into adult animation. So like as a kid, they were already kind of like putting you in the direction of like you're gonna like this shit, like you're gonna watch this show.
No,
You
I
know, you
think.
might watch this show.
I mean, you start off like like with your morning cartoons, like in the mornings. But when you come home after school, I mean, there's other cartoons, but they're just like more adult orientated. So it's like the later in the day, the more mature it's gotten. But I mean,
Yeah, but
aside from those cartoons, you did get like the series, like the live action series. But I mean, that's how they get you. But I mean, yeah, man. Like, what could we say about like Simpsons? Like, it just made an impact. ragdoll animation. Because after that, you
It
got
just it was musical, it was clever, it was
yeah,
stupid, it
it was
was
pop culture references all
American.
over. It
I
made
think that's
fun.
what it was the most.
Yeah, it parodized like everything in pop culture and stuff that they said like they will make fun of religion, of course. Like you have like your Ned Flanders, or they'll make fun of like the the justice system,
Well,
with the
what they were
police
doing
being
is they're just like making a satire out of everything.
yeah. So everything was a caricature in itself,
Yeah,
like they made little things within like the everyday like the regular cast, and also they made fun of
like the
like
DM,
whatever.
like going to the DMB or like
Yeah,
going to the.
and they made fun of stuff like that that was happening at the time, like the one thing I remember is like uh the Clinton administration when he was running against like Bob Dole, and then you had like a
Mhm.
character called Bob Dole, and all he said was like, I'm Bob Dole, Bob
Oh
Dole.
no!
And then of course you got like your Bill Clifton, who's like
I mean, there was a lot of comedians in that show too.
yeah,
Like George Carlin was in The Simpsons.
fucking
Bill Nye the
uh
Science Guy was in there. He's not really a comedian, but he's in there.
yeah, one of the biggest ones, he played Mr. Burns' son, Ronnie Dangerfield.
Oh yeah,
He
that's
kind of
right.
he looked like Ronnie, like a version of Ronnie, and then Mr. Birds. Like he got the little long nose, and then he had like the hair going up. He's like, I got
Yeah,
no respect, pops.
I fucking love that
Oh my
episode. That was
god,
a good
that
one.
was a good
And then there
episode.
was the Michael Jackson character that looked nothing like Michael Jackson, but everyone remembers him
Yeah,
because it was
that
Michael
that
Jackson.
really was Michael Jackson voicing him. And then Homer just brought him home. He's like, "That's not Michael Jackson." And everyone was just disappointed. He sang, and he was like, "Whoa, who is this guy?"
It's Michael Jackson.
It's Michael Jackson himself. Yeah,
And
and there
they
was
even make their own lore in it
yeah,
too, like Bleeding Gums Murphy and stuff like that.
yeah, and they had a lot of celebrities in there, not just like the
Red Hot
comedians.
Chili Peppers. There's a
Yeah,
lot.
that
There's
was
too
like
many to
later
name.
on. Blink 182. Hey man, let's trash this place. No, let's get paid, and then we'll trash this place. Sick. Oh god.
That's how
Yeah,
you do it.
so much. I mean, that was the staple of like what was going on before. Like now we have like Family Guy, which is the same staple of like The Simpsons. And again, The Simpsons were also like a staple of like well, they're also uh what do we call it? They didn't copy, but they also used the same template as like the Flintstones. And then from The Simpsons, of course, you get Family Guy and King of the Hill, and that
Mhm.
became like their own thing. And it's like a family unit, but they were funny and they say shit that that was out there. you know. And of course, we have Adult Swim. Oh wait, before that, we had South Park, which is
Yes,
something that's
that's
like
what I was waiting
whoa.
for, bro. Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's what I was about to say. Like,
Wait,
dude, South Park in
when
the
South
'90s
Park
was
came out,
was the show. That
it
was
was
the
a
show.
show because I remember kids talking about it, and I didn't have cable, but eventually it did came to like cable TV, but you had to watch it like late night.
Or you have to rent the actual seasons.
Yeah, and I rented season 3. That was the first season I watched that show, and I really recently rewatched like season 3. Oh my god, that shit was like they tackle fucking like global warming and all that shit like in the first 3 episodes. And I was just
Huh.
like, huh, like I did not notice that before.
Yeah.
And this is me after like taking like an endangering planet course, which talks about like how our
Yeah.
ecosystem's endangered. And I saw this first 3 episodes, and it was just like, oh my god,
They're on it. They were on it every
yeah,
time. I think that's why
they
it was like,
like not unlike the Simpsons. They were a little bit out there, and also they had like less celebrities because they were like hardcore get on those celebrities. They will just like make fun of them relentlessly. Like the only celebrities they will never make fun of is Jennifer Aniston and George Clooney and a couple others, I think, that actually started in the fucking show.
why Jennifer Aniston?
Jennifer Aniston was in the first episode of that season, and she played a teacher that was like, it's a choir teacher, and she basically had to go to their school, and then the boys got in trouble for making fun of like the choir, and then they said like, you have to go with them, you got to save the rainforest, and they're like, oh man, it is weak. And then she was just like, we got to save the rainforest, and then she's being Jennifer Aniston about it, and it's funny to like hear her say like, damn it, Carmen, you stop that right now. And
That's
and
funny.
at the end of the episode, she's like, I don't like. They went through the rainforest and they saw the horrors of the rainforest, like them getting devoured and like fucking native people like running after them. And at the end
Uh-huh.
of the episode, she's like, you know what? Fuck the rainforest. We should get rid of it. I don't even know why I started with in the first place. And it's just funny to see like like Jennifer Aniston from freaking Friends like cursing out like out loud like that.
That's
So
pretty awesome. That like was like a precursor to her doing movies like RV and stuff like that.
yeah, like RV and Horrible Bosses. Oh my god, Horrible
Yeah.
Bosses.
I mean, cause she can be really funny, dude.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's cool that South Park was one of the first shows to like get her in on something like that and show that side of her.
Mhm.
Um, I was gonna say like, how I knew it was the show is because back in the '90s they used to have those little coin things where it was like
Yeah.
you could go and put stickers and stuff like that, and they would have like stickers of South Park, but then they came out with alien versions of them because that
Oh,
was the thing.
yeah. Because
So
of
it
the
was
first
like you
episode.
could you
Yeah.
could collect the alien
Oh,
version of Cartman and the alien version of Kyle.
yeah. Oh, get this. I didn't know this until I researched into it during my, that whole thing. Um, so apparently South Park like was they had a precursor. It was a little short that they made. It was called Santa Claus versus the Snowman, and it's basically like those characters, but their names are like switch around. They look, who Cartman was, but his name was like Kyle, and then you have your Kenny, but his name was like Cartman or some shit,
Uh-huh.
and it was like switched around, and it was like very like not the quality that you know of South Park, and it was basically rotating with like Jesus and the
What?
snowman fighting because like they made the snowman, and then he turned out to be evil, so they go to church and they believed in Jesus and say like Jesus saved us, and then basically Jesus like saves the the snowman. He
What
basically
the
kicks his
fuck?
ass, and at the end of the day, only the two of them survive, and they learn an important lesson, which was like the template in every episode of South Park in the beginning, where I was like, "Oh, today I learned something," and then they had like the background music, and I was like, oh, "God!" Like that was like the first template of like South Park. That was basically like the first episode, and you
Huh.
could actually look it up at YouTube. I think like how I described it was called uh the Snowman versus
Santa Claus
Jesus.
versus
Yeah.
Snowman versus Jesus?
Yeah.
At first you said Santa Claus versus the
Yeah,
snowman.
sorry. It was because it happened during like the Christmas time, so I think they tried to ask for Santa's help, but I think he refused or some shit.
That's stupid.
Yeah. But
That's funny though.
yeah, so that's how they started, and I
I
mean,
think it's
those
I
guys
think
keep
it's cool
kicking
because
ass.
that show revolves around little kids.
Yeah, it revolves around little kids with that get into like adult situations. Especially in the beginning, they were like very naive about it, but now they kind of like they know what's up, and they're like, dude, like they know what sex is, and then I think in one of the games, like Cartman is like he was making like some stupid like backstory about like superheroes, and every superhero's like background story is like he went into the room and he saw his dad fucking his mom. It was very traumatizing, and then it's like that's what parents are supposed to do, dumbass. That's how we're alive. And they just like get that type of humor, but some of them are just like kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, South Park is just like a template of what like a satire is, and making fun of like the pop culture itself,
I
and
mean,
even
that's
till
where I
this
feel like
day,
they really did take kind of that blueprint from The Simpsons, but they just did it in a way that was more, uh,
hardcore,
not yeah, more
way out
hardcore
there.
and more like meant for just purely like they didn't want kids to watch it, basically.
Yeah, and it's funny because like it attracted a lot of kids.
Well, because they cussed a lot in it. That
It
like
cut. yeah,
That's the big difference between
and
Simpsons and
then
South Park. Is
yeah,
like in
and then there
South
was
Park
like
they cuss.
yeah, and there was that whole complaint with like the parents, and then eventually like that whole fiasco, what how the parents were complaining about like how can we let this stills like be on our TVs? That became the template of the movie that came out in like 1999 and made fun of
Yeah.
that. So it was just like a meta verse type of plot that they inputted in that movie. So it's like, oh, like wow, these guys really know what they're doing. They're not. It's not just like stupid fart jokes and all that. I mean, yeah, it is, but with a little bit hint of like some self awareness and stuff. But I mean, aside from that, it's still running. Um, I mean, the next big thing is like not just like just all these shows that we keep talking about, but also like the one important thing is like the late night slot. Because that's how we
Yeah.
got like Adult Swim.
Yeah.
It started off with like C Lab 2020, whatever the fuck, and a bunch of shows that were just like very unorthodox and just like very out there, and they had like it's adult humor.
I mean, to me, Ren and Stimpy was almost in that direction too.
Mhm.
Like what the fuck? Like, is this
Yeah, I
actually
was
for
like
kids? Like,
borderline
this is
adults. Like it's like
yeah.
borderline adults. Like oh
It
shit.
was just really cringe sometimes.
The creator himself actually got fired from his own fucking show.
They're like, dude, you can't do
Can't do
this.
that, man. It was
I can do whatever the
But
fuck
that's
I
what I'm
want.
saying. It was these guys that were figuring it out. Like, we go, what can we get away with?
apparently
And
not
I
get away
mean,
with
like, there's a
everything.
lot of shit. But I mean, like, stemming from even back to like, Disney, going back to Disney stuff. Now it's like you watch the Disney Treasures, and then what's his name? Mr. Nemo comes on and says, "You got to understand, folks. These were made in the early '40s." And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is like there is racist content, there is different stuff because that's just the time that they lived in.
Yeah, it's
You know what
basically
I'm saying?
speaks about the times and stuff. It's just like, but
That's
I
the only
mean,
reason they had him in there was to give those like
yeah,
disclosures.
I know. And now we have cartoons that could talk about those type of issues and just like make fun of that shit. Like,
You know what? That's the only thing that I realize right now. This is totally off topic, but the Disney
but
Treasures I think are the only ones that they don't have on Disney Plus that you can watch like each episode.
wait, what would you consider? Oh, wait, is it a series?
Yeah, Disney, they come in like these tins,
Right. Oh, okay.
aluminum
Is
tins,
it like
but
what
yeah.
is it like bonus content that comes from like because I remember like the DVD they will have like a special edition DVDs and then they say like get it for a limited time or else it's gonna go into the vault. Is it one
Yeah.
of those? And they had bonus content on that?
No, this was
What was
past the
it?
vault. This was stuff that was like its own series of remastered content from the 60s and from basically all their cartoons. Like they remastered
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they put it onto a DVD. That shit was cool, but yeah, that's
Damn.
that.
Was it-
But I mean, now it's like if you wanted to watch a series, an animated series, all you got to do is go on Netflix and like,
You could
watch the whole series.
you could buy boxes like box DVDs of it or DVDs. Even if you don't have cable and you wanted to watch it, you could like rent it or
That's
you
how,
used
I
to
mean,
rent
back
it.
in the days, in the '90s. That's how I remember my brother getting like the volumes, one,
Yeah.
two, three, four seasons, and it would be the episodes of South Park.
Yeah.
And it was like they were all sold separately and stuff like that. But I remember back in the days, nobody wanted their kids watching that shit because they cuss so much, and it's like you would
They even
pick
had
up
the labels
language
in
from
there.
it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
honestly, that's what went sour, bro. As soon as that came out, it was like, all right, YouTube's legal. We could get away with it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I mean, that's what I want to get to too, because now that we have like streaming, like
Yeah.
you don't just have to go to Adult Swim. Like you could go to like Netflix and have shows that are mature rated and just go balls out. I mean, they have uh uh I'm like blanking out. They have BoJack Horseman, which is like really out there, and also like Big Mouth, which is like really out
Yeah.
there. And
Well,
I
now I'm going back and I'm thinking of um even before Netflix, there was a show. that I used to watch on the internet called Homestar Runner. And Homestar
Mm-hmm.
Runner was an adult themed like cartoon, but they would come out with episodes every week. But they didn't make the episodes like regular animation. They made them through Flash.
Yeah.
They used Flash
I think
animation,
I
so they
remember
just did
that.
like voiceovers over that shit, and that
Yeah.
shit's like some of the funniest shit, and like some of like it's like The Office kind of humor, you know what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And like you get to know all the characters and stuff like that. But dude, I don't know what happened to that site. Like they were a big commodity, and like people would like pay to like donate to them to make more episodes and stuff like that. So
Holy
I
shit.
mean, I don't know what happened to them, but dude, like I remember that was one of the big animations back in the day on the web that people used to watch. Homestar Runner, look it up.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they have like its own channel in YouTube or something. Have you tried looking it up?
Um, I don't know, man. I don't think they're around anymore. Let's see.
Really? That's. I'm pretty sure there's like a subreddit somewhere. I don't know what happened. I got a hiccup. It's weird.
So they do. It did come back. Homestarrunner.com. It did come back.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. Oh, it's
Strong
because you
bad
haven't checked
email.
in a while. Huh?
So like the cool thing that they would do is they connected with their audience by you could write strong bad an email. So you would write them an email like, oh, blah blah blah, just talking about like just a letter basically, like, and
Yeah.
people would put, like off the wall random shit like I'm having trouble training my horse, like shit like whatever,
It kind of
you know.
sounds like the
And they-
same thing with like comic books where there's like a certain website or no, a certain email where you could email like that comic and then just make like it became like its own like fan forum and stuff and they would like ask or do or put like random ass scenarios and shit, you know?
Yeah, so that's what it was, and like basically like
Yeah.
every week or every other week he would come out with strong bad emails, so he would like respond to people's emails and stuff like that in an animated video. Yeah. So
That's
like it was a
funny.
lot of work. I could see why it didn't hold up, but like yeah, I don't know if they still are making videos. They haven't come out with videos, but you could
Yeah.
subscribe to it now. It's on YouTube for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with YouTube. Like they also have like their own animated series too. Not just like something that they made up, but also like something like Team 4 Star, which is like a website dedicated
Mm.
to like redubbing like Dragon Ball Z episodes and putting like their own cast members voicing like every character and just making fun of that shit. And they will get like they will show like disclaimer like, oh, we don't own like any of these properties, but we're just like, doing our own little work and this da 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 da. And they would actually get like a Patreon or like a donation from like different people just to, like continue on and stuff. It's
Sounds like
pretty
a good
cool.
idea.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was just like, oh damn, I'm impressed like how he kind of does sound like Vegeta and the stupid ass shit that Vegeta will say. Well, it was a little bit more out there, but it was fucking funny.
Yeah,
You know?
I know exactly what you're talking about. They go hard, those
He really
guys.
did.
But I mean, let's see. Like, what do you? I guess like what would be? Let's do some top two. We got top two button.
Yes we do.
Top two. 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 Motherfucker. Top two.
That was.
Wow, it's evolved so much now.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
who wants to do top two? Top two? Top two.
You do. I know you do. You've been waiting for this. Look at
Okay.
you.
So this is going back into um this is a show that was underrated. And I just learned that this show actually got 2 Emmys and it got looked over. Just in general in audience. But I'm pretty sure that people who watch it know what I'm fucking talking about. And I fucking love this because now we have shows like fucking um Invincible, which is like a superhero uh animated series, and it's like violent. It's very out there. But before that came out, there was a show in HBO that was based on a comic book series, and it was bad as fuck. It was gothic, almost as gothic as fucking Batman, and it was brooding, and it involved hell. I'm talking about fucking Spawn. the animated
Spawn.
series that came out in HBO in the
Oh, that's
90s.
dope. Is it still on HBO?
It's on HBO Max right now.
Oh fuck yeah,
Bro, that
that's
shit is
dope.
so fucking dope. Like cuz I read the first couple, actually I think I read the whole issue of the original run of Spawn, and it's pretty much like in par with like the animated series up to like the
Hmm.
second season. And it was really dark and just like I said, brooding, and it was like mashing up to like Batman the animated series, but it's like more towards adults, obviously. And they had more violence, they had nudity, they had like um serious subject matter like child molestation and rape and all that. It's just like
That's
whoa,
crazy.
like that's going out there.
Actual shit that happens like in real
And
life.
it was, yeah, it was cool because also it was like a
I think cool is the wrong word to use.
what? Oh, not for like the subject matter, but just like the concept of Spawn. Because let me explain who Spawn is. Spawn was basically a U.S. Marine, a badass Marine. He was black, and he basically got killed in action, and basically got betrayed, and he goes down to hell into like the ninth realm of like hell, and he made the deal with like a demon called, I forgot his name, and he rises up, and he's resurrected as like the spawn, like one of his spawns, and he has to learn how to like control his power and how to do everything. And he has like a whole suit and everything that's like black, white, and then just like a red cape. And he could like spawn like chains right out of his like body, and he could control that shit. And once he actually gets the suit off, his face is like completely burnt. Like he died. He looks exactly how he died. And it's cool
He's like
because
a
he has to
zombie
like,
almost.
now that he's like back alive, he has to deal with the fact that he has to let go of his wife, but also he has to go get back at the people that betrayed him. So it was just like a very serious, very like brooding type of animated series that was just like very resonant of like Gotham City in that sense, or New York, because every like brooding dark superhero is always based off like some New York type of place. Um and yeah, I really liked it. Like I felt like it captured the comics and it captured like what it was going for. Um since then they haven't made any iteration of Spawn. I mean, there was a movie, but that movie fucking sucked ass. But I recommend like the animated series for what it is, because that was bad as fuck. And it was all for adults only.
I need to watch that series. That sounds good.
Yeah, I think I might
Spawn.
rewatch it. I might rewatch it.
Like that, huh?
Yeah, I rewatched it twice, I think. I believe.
Damn.
Or I might be thinking like I rewatched the series and then I was reading the comics.
Was this animation similar to like like Batman's?
Yeah, it's very similar to Batman's. Like they had like the silhouettes, and then they had like they had the silhouettes, and then they had like the glowing eyes, like when they're like kept in the dark or they're like brooding and planning their schemes,
Hmm.
or like when they were like out there in the urban areas, they were like the fluidity
You know
was
who
like the
animated
same.
it?
I don't know who animated it for that series, but I just know it was created by Tar McFarlane, who I think is gonna remake the series, and he's actually gonna make like another animated adult series on the side too, based on his toy lines, from what I learned. So yeah, that's mine. That's my top.
So I think now, I mean, we covered some of the main ones that we grew up with and stuff like that. But I think as far as like the new one, and like the new types of series. Hold on, my Discord's going off on this shit.
All right.
Okay, so like I would say one of the new ones that I'd focus on is probably also um Matt Groening or Simpson esque,
Hmm.
but different, like totally different, not based on reality, not really still a satire, but not really like set in the USA basically.
Right.
So the one I'm talking about is Disenchantment. It's
Yay.
one of the ones that I've been keeping up on. I love watching the show. Um, some of the characters are really funny, and like the situations that they get into is like kind of reminds me sometimes of The Simpsons, the way they like play things off,
Yeah.
which is kind of cheap, but in its own way, it's reminiscent of The Simpsons, you
Yeah.
know.
It's
So I
very
think
much in
that's
that
why I
style.
like just Disenchantment, because it's like, you know, I feel like The Simpsons now has really changed because they're doing more modern things, you know, but like just the way that like the takes and like the comedic kind of whimsy that they do in The Simpsons is the same thing that they follow through on Disenchantment, and I really like that kind of similar, you know, writing. I guess like
Yeah.
it's very familiar to it,
It's
you
yeah,
know.
it's
So
very much in that same style. Like they capture whatever was in the senses over to this. Like this is like their spiritual child in that sense. Just like it
yeah,
is as with Futurama in that sense.
but I mean, I love Elfo. He's freaking hilarious, and Tia Beanie. You know, it's the first one. It's the first series that I think has a female as the lead,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's not that many animations that actually, like, if you think about it, there isn't, except for Aeon Flux and maybe like, you know, other stuff like that. There hasn't been any other adult animated shows with the female as the main
Yeah.
character.
It's mostly like for kids that they will have like a female. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that this one they have a girl as a main character, and then she's also like an alcoholic. So that's always funny, you know, and just like how they own the bar, and Lucy's in there, and it's just like freaking awesome.
Yeah. The
I love
cat.
all those characters, and how simply, you know, like Lucy's character, for example, like there's not a lot to him. He's just like a black little blob, but they're able to make him look 3D in so many different ways. You know, you can
Yeah.
kind of see the dimensions of him and what he would look like if he actually was alive, or, like exist in the real world. If
Yeah. He
that
has
makes
like
sense.
that 2D animation to him that's like kind of flat. Um, it's like he reminds you of like that fuck. I know he comes from another franchise, but I see him in like the Super Smash Brothers. It's like the 2D character. I forgot his name. I completely forgot his name. That's who Lucy reminds you of. This is a
Oh,
just like
I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Mr. Watch something, Mr. Something Watch,
Stay and watch. Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, he reminds you of him.
Mr. Game and
Game
Watch.
and Watch. There you go. Yeah, he reminds you
That's
of
what
him.
he. Yeah, he's like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like how
yeah,
they play, like how they play him in there like that, and I just I think it's really creative how they like have him, like he could fit into a bottle, and then they just put an eye, and then that like a voice will be coming out of it, but you know it's Lucy, you know.
yeah,
So I think it's really interesting how they play with that kind of aspect. Also like the 2D, the 3D kind of dimension in it, and then actual like 3D models that they put into it. Like in the intro, you'll even see them do some of the cell shading and
yeah,
stuff that makes it look 3D. So I think that's really like ingenuitive now, doing an animated show and using the capabilities of doing like a 3D stage.
yeah,
They also do some really good stuff like that in Cuphead, the Cuphead series. They'll mix 2D animation and clay animation and stuff like that, just kind of like in the game. So I thought that was pretty dope too. But yeah, Disenchantment.
yeah, Chapman. I would add about that show too is that it's also unlike The Simpsons. It's very like a cartoon. There's a continuity. I can't even say that shit. But there's a
Continuity.
continuity in the story. Unlike The Simpsons, it was just like a standalone, but this is like kind of like you know its own little story and like a medieval thing, and then it's sort of like tapping into like Game of Thrones parody itself in a way, where
Hmm.
it's like oh, like she's evil, she's gonna betray him, and then this and that, and then they're all playing off each other, and then you learn like a new revelation about like uh Princess what's her name, Princess
Beanie.
Tiambini, like in her arc and stuff. So it's very pretty interesting, like playing on that standard of how TV should be, but also making fun of it.
Yeah, I mean and the cool thing about it too is like they do it in a magical world, so they kind of can do whatever they want. They're not based in
Yeah,
reality, you know.
Yeah, so
They're
it's
talking
like
about magic and stuff like that, which is dope.
I mean that's one of the things about cartoons. Like the imagination is limitless. Uh,
Okay, so what's your second one?
Sorry.
I'm gonna go get my
So
second one.
go get your second one. I didn't get a second one. I'm just gonna keep on drinking this one. Mm, mm. Oh, actually, no. I'll just keep on drinking that. So my second one. My second one, I would say, it's gonna be one of the most obvious one. I actually had a shirt of it, but I can't find the shirt, so instead I have this shirt. I have April O'Neil from TMNT, but it my second show is not TMNT. It's actually a show that actually kind of
Nice.
changed adult animation in that sense. Kind of changed like animation as we see it now. And I think that's why like adult animation is becoming more popular because of this show, because of like type of humor it's like bringing on. And it wasn't typical. It's like kind of changed the wheel in that sense. And every episode feels like it's very fluid, it's very cinematic, it's very out there, and it definitely brought multiverses or multi or alternative universe into like the mainstream. And of course, I'm talking about Rick and Morty. Rick
Oh shit.
and Morty. So
He finally gets to talk about Rick and Morty.
actually, I think I did talk about it once, but the one thing I would say about Rick and Morty, just starting off, is that when it came out, people were impressed about like the animation. And at the time, I was actually in community college, and I had to do like a project with like an animator. And the animator, like, of course, he's gonna have his own expertise. He has gonna have his own influences on animation. And one of the things that he looked up to was Rick and Morty, and he said that the animation, look at that, is actually very fluid and very vibrant and very colorful. And that's something that, it costs money to do that. Like it looked kind of like how would I say it? Like if they made like like say like an animated series is so beloved that they made a movie about it, but the movie will actually like amped up like the animation just a little bit more. It will Rick and Morty, every episode of that is that fucking movie quality animation,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
in the beginning, like they they were like really out there. Of course, it was about a family unit, but also it was about the then going to like different adventures, because in animation, like whether it's adult animation or animation in general, we really like those, you know, day by episode by episodes where like, oh, this week I wonder what they're gonna get into or what kind of trouble they're gonna get into. And Rick and Morty was like the ultimate version of that, you know,
Uh huh.
especially in like the first season. And there was also like a little bit of a storyline that that is stuck to it, but they weren't like super faithful to it. Uh, like the thing with like Evil Morty, there's like a whole fan theory. There's a whole like storyline that you know somewhere like before Rick came into like the family, he had like a different Morty from a different universe, and something happened between them that he's basically Evil Morty's like trying to destroy him or trying to like do something to get back at him and stuff, and that's interesting. But they don't stick to it. That's the thing. And I think that's what like makes it very interesting. Like not give them a fuck, not giving too much of a fuck, but once in a while they'll throw you a fucking bone.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to follow from the beginning, but I mean, just knowing that there's like a lot of universes and stuff like that, there is a lot of lore to it. Like when you get to know like the whole Rick Foundation, like
The concept of Ricks.
yes, the
Yeah,
Council of Ricks, like that just makes everything complicated. And there's like the whole like Morty verse or whatever, like
yeah,
it's just a bunch of Mortys and stuff like that.
yeah.
So
It's just making
I mean,
fun of the
like
idea of like just the multiverse itself
I
because you
mean,
could play
that's the
so much
crazy
with it.
part is you never know what universe you're in
Yeah,
when you
or
watch the show.
yeah, and you're also questioning whether like oh well, are they the original Rick and Morty that we followed in season one? Because now we got to like seasons where they come across like other ones and they're fighting each other, and then you don't know which one's which. So it's
Yeah,
just like, and it's like, and they're telling you like, who gives a fuck? Just watch the show. But the more you think
yeah,
about it, which people will fucking think about it, they'll get more complex about the show, and then that's the hardcore fans that get way to the show and say like, oh, like there's other kind of fans that say like, oh, you actually have to be like an acquired intelligence to watch the show, which I
right.
think is a complete fucking horseshit. I hate those
There's
people,
people
bro.
like that.
Yeah, there's people that say like you have to have a higher intelligence to get Rick and Morty because their jokes are very subtle and they'll just fly past by you. And I'm just like, God.
What the fuck? Who have you
Yeah.
met that's like this?
Uh the same
It
people
was it
that
was that guy,
the
wasn't
same
it?
people look, the same people that wanted to get like 100 packs of like Szechuan sauces at fucking McDonald's.
Oh
There's
my
other
god.
fans. There's other fans that fucking say that shit. Yeah, you can really see the intelligence in
Acquired
you, bro.
intelligence. Let's go stand in line for
It's like,
ketchup.
bro, yeah, you could enjoy the show whether you're stupid or you're smart. It's just like it's fucking funny. It's just
Yeah.
fucking funny how you watch it, like without context or just watching it as it is. Cause I watch it with like a couple friends that they don't they don't overanalyze anything. They enjoy it for what it is. They want to be entertained, and Rick and Morty serves that entertainment.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch it like as an entertaining piece, like by all means go ahead. But uh, at certain points, like
Ooh.
I think like in the later seasons too, it kind of gets like a little overcomplicated in a couple episodes. Because I recently showed this to one of my friends, and we were like smoking, we were drinking, and then we watched the show, and then there was the show where they had like a different multiverses of like different families coming together, and they just couldn't keep up, and they're just like, I don't know what's going on, like why, like who's who, and then, like why are they fighting, and like oh like, and it just became like its own trope, like it became like the Looney Tunes of like the multiverse, like it was just so much mayhem going on that you just it doesn't matter whether you wanted to keep up or not, it was just like fucking sensory overload at maximum, and it was just like oh, you know. And for me, like I could watch that high, and I'm just enjoying it for what it is. It's just like it's. I think it's funny what they're doing. That's how I'm taking away from it. It's just like I know what the concept's behind.
Kind of
I
like
know what
everything
it is
everywhere all at
about.
once.
Yeah.
Like there was some points in that movie that was just like sensory overload, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a
So
movie we have to talk about soon. So I
yeah.
I feel like yeah, Rick and Morty was like the staple for that movie itself because I mean multiverse has been like a concept that's been um
Avengers has
yeah,
covered
that's
it.
been
Rick and
yeah, that's
Morty
been
has covered
around.
it.
What?
Spider-Man has covered it.
Yeah. Nowadays they covered it, but I think Rick and Morty was like one of the first ones. Another thing that I could think of is like BioShock Infinite. They kind of talk about universes, and
Huh.
that's how I got into that universes. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. But like I've been knowing about it since I was like 20. It's like right before all those mainstream things came out. But it became like an interesting thing in comics and stuff, and then uh, of course, like Rick and Morty wanted to be like its own show about like sci-fi. Like
I remember when
that
Trump
was the
won,
concept
people
with
were
that.
saying it's like that was like there were people like that were saying we need to do another episode, a conspiracy episode soon. But in our conspiracy episode, we talked about CERN, I think, and like how a lot of people believe that when they did the the particle slam or whatever, it's the
Yeah.
particle loop,
Oh, the
right?
super collider. Yeah.
Yeah, when they turned that on, that shifted our world into another dimension.
Yeah.
And that's like why a lot of people said like the Mandela effect started, and then they also said like that's why Trump won presidency was because of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you could really just blame the multiverse for anything if you wanted to, you
Yeah,
know?
because it just became a
Like
concept that people are now like realizing now. Um, but honestly, aside from like the multiverses and all that shit, like at heart, Rick and Morty is like it's pretty much a parody of like of Back to the Future. You have Marty and then Professor Doc. That's how it began, and then eventually they changed the names to like Morty and like Rick. It was just like, oh, just give him a name, Rick. That's his name, Rick. And especially in like in the first season, they actually made fun of like science fiction movies, and they made tropes of like those type of movies, and then they kind of like implement that into like their own freaking plot. Like Lawnmower Dog was actually based on Lawnmower Man, which is about a man who actually it was a little slow, but then as the story progressed, he became smarter, and that's actually the plot of that episode with the dog. He basically Rick just put him a thing on his head, and the dog just became smarter. Shit.
Oh, that episode was crazy. And
Yeah.
like, where did my balls go?
Tell me, Summer,
Like,
where did my balls go? And then Summer's just like, I don't like your line of questioning right now. Let's go for a walk. Or shit like that.
I don't want to go for a walk.
Yeah, they just
That shit
became
was
like
stupid.
it also made fun. They also had like they made fun of Inception. No, they like they like fucking what would it say? They didn't make fun of Inception, but um they also punched down on it in a way
Yeah.
because Rick was just like, oh, it's like that movie Inception, that movie that you think it made sense. It's like totally makes sense because because of course, like if you watch Inception, it's like one of those movies. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very high concept film. A lot of people say, yeah, it makes sense, but really, does it make sense? Like they're really questioning about the things that you see. But it also became not also like a satire, but also like a what do you call it? Like something like just as commentary. I would say, yeah, like it was like commentary on the things that you watch too. And they they did a lot of things that they kind of implemented in their in their plots. Like they made fun of Jurassic Park. They made fun of if, I don't know about Interstellar. They made fun of I
They
think
made a
Planet of
fun
the
of a lot of
Apes.
shit. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's where a lot of adult animation, it's very satirical because that's the only way you can get away with it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, like animation now, they putting a little bit more of like dark comedy into it. I'm noticing that with like Rick and Morty as the seasons progress, but also like
Well, that one that
shows like
the one that you mentioned, Invincible,
yeah,
earlier, like that's one that I think is cutting edge to the animation world because it's kind of like it's brutal and it's like showing a lot of goriness and stuff like that, which is dope.
yeah,
I think,
and
you
then
know.
yeah, and then also you get a lot of cartoons that are just like kind of getting a little bit too real, uh,
Uh-huh.
especially with especially like shows like Big Mouth or what's the other one, the Bird and Tuca, and both of them talk about like emotional issues, like very serious issues.
Mhm.
And it kind of makes sense that they did because like cartoons like for us as kids were comforting, and then watching cartoons talk about this shit is kind of like it's a easier pill to swallow
So this is
because
a good segue into my
yeah.
top 2 right here.
So yeah, I was gonna say like yeah, like just go into that before I get
Cuz
into other animations.
cuz like that's he brought up a good point cuz like when you're younger you watch stuff like that and you look at that as kind of, as kind of like the standard, the bar of what animation should be. And I feel like this one talked about childhood in a way that was not like Life of Louis or anything like that, but in a way that it was like funny and it was real and it was honest to like what American culture was. And the animation that I'm talking about, it's one of my favorites now, is F is for Family.
Yes.
I fucking love that shit. It's one of my favorite animations. It's written and it's based on the life of Bill Burr. Let me just read the little quip
Loosely based, I believe.
from Google here. Set in the 1970s, this animated raunchy comedy is inspired by the life of stand-up comic Bill Burr, who was co-creator and executive producer of the series. Burr also voices the character Frank Murphy, a short-tempered veteran, so he does the dad basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever. There's a lot of dope people in it. Laura Dern, Justin Long do voices in it. Sam Rockwell, um, David Koshner, who recently went to jail. Oh shit.
Really?
Yeah, he went to jail for DUI. Jonathan Banks, Vince Vaughn does voices in it. Ooh, Michael Kenneth did too, and he's also passed. Wow, R.I.P. man.
Yeah.
T.J. Miller. There's a bunch of people that do. John DiMaggio. There's a lot of people that do voices for this series.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be surprised how many like cast members are in a single animated series itself.
Yeah. So I mean, but I love that it's based in the 70s. Like all the stuff that's drawn, like all the cars, everything is like all in the 70s.
Yeah.
The clothes is all 70s. It's like an animated that 70s show, and the main character is red.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Basically.
saying? Like that's the best way to put it. Like
I mean, you don't
it's
get too
just like
much
a
of those kids though, but
yeah,
you
but I
get younger
mean, like
kids.
the kids are great characters too. It's like the stoner rocker kid, and then like the misfit like troublemaker kid, which is
Yeah.
Bill Burr, is Bill's character,
Yeah.
So also I wanted to put in. People might be wondering what I'm sipping on. I got a Santa Monica Brew Works Beach Brewed 310 California Blonde, and honestly, I'm just the reason I got this one is because I wanted to get a blonde ale. A lot of the beers that I saw were IPAs, and I just didn't want to do an IPA.
Yeah.
But I figured, how can I tie this in?
Fuck it.
Well, the lettering is the same color as Bart Simpson's T-shirt, so they'll all just be there.
Stupid. If there was like a blue lettering font right there with the freaking orange, I would I would put that as valid, but the fact
But
that you just put
also,
one
F
color.
is for family. They use that orange too.
No, they
You know,
don't. They use the brown and like a yellow golden color.
and an orange. Orange
It
is
was
like
like a
that
70s
70s
color.
orange.
It was like a very
Yeah.
70s color. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not only do you get like an era, but you also get like the issues going into that, like fucking like the problematic issues, like, whether it's like dealing with like black people, like how black people are treated, and
hmm
also the fact that
Like injustice
y-
in the workplace
yeah,
because of race and
yeah,
stuff like
because of the
that.
rate. Not only that, but also like using like a Native American as like a poster child for like an airline, because they do. I think they still do that.
No, I think they stopped
They
after
stopped,
that. I
right?
think that they talk about the transition of that. It was
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mohawken Airlines or something like
Yeah, it
that.
was when things were not progressive, and this is the shit that
I mean, but
we
that's
got
what it
away
talks
with.
about, like the kind of stuff like, like back in the days, Fritz the cat. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that was dealing with. This is the same kind of stuff, and like
Well, yeah,
they can get
similar.
away with it because it's Netflix.
Yeah, well, it was similar things in a way, but I mean, they did talk about like some heavy issues once in a while. They didn't like put it as a burden out there or anything, but it was just like it was just the times like with the whole thing with like the mom having to be like unhappy because she's like a at home mom and she didn't like achieve her dreams, which is the real thing. But at the end of the series, uh, I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, she does get a happy ending. You know?
Yeah. And I think I thought it was really cool how like it goes the transition, like the transition of power kind of back in those days where like he
Yeah.
loses his job and she ends up being like the breadwinner and stuff like that. So it's just like it's pretty cool how they were able to kind of just play with that sense of manhood and like that manliness that would have been known like in the 70s to be a macho man, to be like, also a breadwinner and stuff. Like in those days in the 70s in America was a big deal. So
Yeah.
like putting him in a like in a lower place and just like seeing that kind of character react to it, which is based on Bill Burr's dad,
Yeah.
is like
Speaking of
pretty. It's eye opening to
yeah,
like what it was like, what the American dream was really like, and I loved one of my favorite characters is the one that lives across the street from him on the
which one?
radio.
The radio. Oh, the blonde guy, the one that's played by
Yes,
Sam Rockwell. All
what is his
right,
name?
dude.
Kit? What's his name?
His name was damn it. What was his name? It was like goddamn hippie's name. That's I think he called him a hippie once. He was like goddamn fucking hippie. Dave, Steve.
I think it was
Uh,
Dave Radio Show.
I don't know, but that guy was like the party animal. And then, uh, like the more the seasons progress, he started to
Vic.
stay clean, and it got a little bit more depressing.
That was his name, Vic.
Vic, Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
I
like the
just love
man's
that
man.
scene where he has that giant party and it's like a 70s party and they're all playing records and shit. And he's
Yeah.
like, he like goes and like, everyone's like, he's like doing a rail off of the rail. Like the staircase rail.
I was just
like,
thinking
going
about that. I
down.
was like, oh my god, the 70s, man.
That's what,
I'm pretty
that's
sure
what
people
they used
did
to do
that.
back in the day. And then
Yeah.
like he had like a conversation pit. He had like a bachelor's pad and shit like that. I thought it was like hilarious, dude. Like seeing all that shit, like, and just like how they had that midget. They had like, well, I guess
Little person.
little person.
But they
I
did
can't
say
say that
yeah,
anymore.
they did say it in the show though.
Yeah, they did. I think that's what they said, and like that was a controversy on the show, was saying that it was like, whoa, guy,
Hey, this
But
is
then
the
it was like,
time.
yeah, you could throw me, but it was like, but can we throw you through over here? Yeah, you could throw me over there.
Oh my
It's
god.
just, I don't know. It's
Thi-
it's very
yeah, this,
satirical and it's like good writing too. It's
yeah, I was
funny
so out
and they
there.
get it. They kind of go at everyone too. Like when you do shows like that, if you're doing adult animation, you're making fun of a group. You kind of have to make fun of all groups
Yeah.
to keep it like a fair playing field. I feel like
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna make a point. Like also, they do have like like especially in the final season, they do make like a whole segment about like like they do have like a black character that's fighting for like the rights of whatever is going on in their city. And of course, it being the times, there was a scene that kind of got everyone worried, knowing the context of today, or
yeah,
knowing the context of what happened in every decade, of how black people got treated. One of the characters actually gets stopped by the police, and you're just like, "Oh shit!" And then they got their happy ending because one of the characters interact with them and save this ass or whatnot. And
yeah,
it was just kind of saying like, this could have happened, but we know what's up, and we know like they could be an ex machina in this, and everything's gonna be okay because we wouldn't go that far.
yeah. I
It's almost like
mean,
a dark joke, really. Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like it's cool that they're putting these kinds of situations to open people's eyes and like to suggest like, yeah, this could have gone wrong, but it would go wrong because of the shit that we're living through today.
yeah.
Like
I
kind
mean,
of
it did
speaking up
happen.
about the context.
It did happen like in days too, but also
Yeah,
just like we're a little bit more aware about it now. Um, but yeah, there was just different little characters there. I mean, there was also like a troublemaking family that they befriended with, and then there was like the dorky kind of
it was like
like
those
serial
they were
killer
like
type of
kids that were
kids.
just like left at home all
Yeah,
the time.
and oh my god, they even had Jeffrey Dahmer as a kid in that fucking show. Like they suggested like I forgot what episode it was, but his dad was like a cop, and then the cop went to him and he said like he did what, and then he just went down and he told him like Jeffrey Dahmer, or no, I got the no wait, I got the hint that it was Jeffrey Dahmer because I read his dad's like police tag and it said Dahmer, and he was calling him Jeffrey.
Oh,
So I got the hint and I was like, oh shit, and I was watching this with my friend. I'm just like, dude, you know who that is? Jeffrey Dahmer. And my friend's gay, so he got it like, oh, the gay serial killer. He's like, yeah, that's him. That's funny, right? So they're also
no, it's
poking
like,
they're also poking fun of the history. It's just like, oh, If only you knew what this kid's gonna grow up to be.
Oh my god, dude.
And yeah,
That's
they just
crazy.
throw
They're really
shit
going
out.
into
Like, I mean,
context.
it's a movie. It's like a show about like back in the days. Knowing the context of that history was just like why don't they just throw it out there?
Just because you're in the era, fuck it,
Yeah.
might as well play with it,
Oh,
you know?
speaking about the '70s, you did mention that '70s shows. So the guy that plays Red was in the show.
What?
Yeah, he voices the father-in-law. The his wife's dad. You
Oh,
know how they come
really?
to visit? Yeah, you know how they come to
Yeah,
visit,
grandpa?
and he was like, he's always a fucking dick to his dad. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Red. Yeah, that's Red.
Oh
You
my
didn't recognize
god.
his voice? I recognized his
That
voice
makes sense.
instantly. I was just like, hey, like you're never good for my daughter, and he just patronizes him all the time. He just like he just
He's
pushes them
red.
down. He's Red. He's exactly like Red. If like if like in this context of the '70s, just if Laurie married like a guy that he didn't approve of, so it's like
Yeah. But I mean, like, I hope they make more episodes and like more series of that shit, because
I think
that's a
that was the
really
final
fun
season.
show, and I love how those celebrities voice the act like the
Yeah.
characters, you know?
Well, I think that's it for that season, for that series.
Yeah.
They finished it already. Even Bill Burr
No.
said, "Yeah, they did. That's the final season."
Damn.
Yeah, he even
He
said
needs to
it.
come out with something else then.
Yeah, I think he's gonna come up with something else. Just not animated. I think it's something else. But he did say it like, "Yeah, I know you guys want more, but you guys complain about all your TV series and all that, and you're not satisfied with the ending. Well, this is my ending, so stay with it. Just stick with it. This is the ending. I'm not gonna give you another one."
He's real about it.
He's real about it. He's a real ranter, he's exactly like the dad character. He's just like, had enough, this and that. But yeah, that's a good pick, man.
Yeah. Had to go with that one.
uh, should we go with honorable mentions?
Um, I mean, we talked about The Simpsons. We talked about Futurama. I don't think we've talked about.
Yeah,
Um,
I liked it. I really like
Today
the
I watched
concept
the
of it.
first episode of Clone Wars, but I don't know if we want to
Should
do
probably
that
watch it.
one as, it's not
I
that funny. It's more of like story context,
Yeah. Well,
you know?
the Clone Wars was pretty good. Like
Well, I mean, I just watched the first episode, but I
yeah,
like the lore of it, you know?
yeah. You definitely get like a lot of lore. And after watching a while, like I was like, I mean, I won't want to know like the main story beats of it because they go into like different arcs. Like they will have like 3 or 5 episodes where it's like the same storyline, and then they'll switch over to like a different one. And I was just like, I think I just want to stick to like the main ones, and they give you like if you go online, they give you like a list of like what you should watch, and it's basically like the not watered down, but the minimum requirement of like what you need to know about that show. So it deals a lot with like um leading up to like episode 3, and then with the whole thing with Ahsoka, and then it's pretty much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely recommend just like if you don't want to watch the whole show, just like go online and just show like
I think I'm just
what's the
gonna
main
watch it. I
storyline.
think I'm just gonna go through it because I mean, if I'm watching something like that, I don't want to miss pieces. But I'm just gonna watch them in the morning.
Mm,
Watch them in the mornings, you know.
good Saturday night, Saturday morning
Yeah,
cartoons.
Saturday morning cartoons. That's it.
Good shit. Yeah,
Sweet man.
I definitely enjoyed it. I think a lot of adults really enjoy it. I guess I would.
Oh, dude, what are we talking about? We haven't even talked about King of the Hill, bro.
Yeah,
All
honestly,
the main characters.
like
It's iconic.
I actually saw a video on them analyzing King of the Hill, and they go into an article where it says like King of the Hill is like the last bipartisan comedy sitcom that will ever exist. Because by that word it means like it's bringing both like the left and the right. But now we're living
Yeah,
in a fucking age where it's like
yeah,
and then they had a good blend of that. It was like really funny, like because you get to see like Hank Hill be a conservative, but he gets into a situation where it's like more liberal, and he has to be
Yeah,
like an open minded about that shit. It's like
right.
that shit was funny.
Yeah. I mean, just the characters and the shit they get into, like Dale's one of my favorites. You know,
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
like the
just all
most.
of them. They're like freaking epic. And then like, I like the, I like the, I like the like stuff that he does just to make it like a good old fashioned American stuff, and then how he makes it like super funny. For example, they're having a barbecue in one episode, and then Bobby goes, "Dad, what if someone asks for their steak well done?" He
Whoa,
goes, "We'll ask them politely but
politely,
firmly
really.
to leave."
Yes, that was one of the best lines
Just
ever.
like shit like that is
Yeah,
just like
you.
what I watched the show for. It's just like you'd have to know, about shit to actually know the jokes,
Yeah, like you have to know like what this character's about, and he's full-hearted American, and anything that's like not his way, it's like bad. Like we all know like he likes propane, but there's one episode where they
Someone brings
tried out
charcoal.
charcoal, and then she's all like, "You brought charcoal to this household?" Like, no, I brought it. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was drugs. And that's in that context, it is drugs. He does look at it like there are
Yeah,
drugs. That's like the funny, like that's the shit that's funny.
yeah. That shit's fucking crazy, bro. But I
Yeah.
mean, I like all the stuff that like the shit that Bobby gets into when he
Oh my
becomes the
god.
mascot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The th-
When he goes on that whole like comedy show thing and he's like the propane like genie or whatever. Like
and then
that.
he farts out the propane, and then Hank's like, "That is not how propane is used," or some shit like that. Like he's
Just
so
so like square. It's like these square ass things that he says. It's just
yeah.
like you can't help to laugh,
Yeah, it's funny because it's like so very dad about him,
And
and
it's like
how
that
everyone
character was
loves
in
that.
Beavis and Butthead. I feel like the
Yeah.
precursor to Hank Hill was like, like in Beavis and Butthead when they were like going into a situation, there'd be like that conservative guy. It was the Hank Hill. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You see them in he's one of the characters in Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he was like an older guy with like glasses, and he's like, "What the hell
And like a
going on?"
fisherman's hat. What
Yeah.
the hell are you doing?
What? How the hell did that
Yeah,
happen?
I thought that shit was hilarious.
Yeah, but you get like those serious characters, but you also get like very idiot characters. Like you think like uh like with Peggy, like you think like she knows Spanish, she's just a substitute Spanish, and then there's some episodes where she thinks she knows better, but she doesn't, and she gets into
Yeah.
situations it's just like what the fuck, like,
And it's
and
funny because, like, if you want to talk about like liberal conservative, that's where it met in the middle. It's like Peggy was more liberal, like more accepting of things and stuff like that.
yeah. Also,
Like,
Bobby was very impressionable on things, so he
mhm,
was just not thinking about like, oh, what does my dad think. He was more like, oh, I enjoy this, like I want to do this, and then once Hank knows about it, he's just like, you know.
I
Like
love
when he
that
had to
shit.
go to like uh when he learned he had to do like a home, what do you call it, like home ec, or one of those fucking courses. I forgot what it was called, but
Yeah, I think it's home ec when he
home
has
ec
the baby, right? Or when he
or
has
yeah, he
what
does
is it?
something, and then he walks into his room and he's like, "Ah!" And it's like so horrible to him, and it's just like that over exaggeration. It's just like that's like a
Yeah,
nightmare to a conservative.
yeah. I mean, I mean, one thing that I liked about the show too is like I like the set was just like an everyday like Texas household.
Hmm.
You know,
He
it's like a
can't get more
household.
American than Texas.
Yeah,
Especially when Texas was its own state, and they do talk about that constantly, and the fact that they drink Alamo beer. Mhm.
yeah. They drink
Mm.
Alamo beer and they go, "Yep,
Yep.
yep, yep." Like that's
Hmm.
iconic. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's literally they were able to sell just like 30 seconds of these guys selling saying yup.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Especially the fact that he's lived there his whole life, so he's just like that guy that's live in his hometown. This is all he knows, and he lives close by, next to his like high school best friends that he knew from high school when they were all playing football. Football,
Yeah, the
and
way they talk about it, right?
yeah, and you get four different guys in that show. Like of course you got Hank, very conservative, very like grounded down. He's the one that's like telling them. He always calls down on their shit all the time. You know, and of course you get like fucking Mr. Rusty Shacklesworth, fucking Dale, who's like a conspiracy
Rusty
nut.
Shackleford.
Who's always like a conspiracy nut, and he's like crazy and fucking kind of a nut, like a dumb nut. And of course, you get Bill, who was like the handsome one back then, but then he lost it all. He got fat, and now he's depressed. He wants it all. And then, of course, you get Boomhauer, who's your everyday playboy,
Yeah.
and he's a
Oh,
mystery
God,
box. What?
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And they all understand him, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There was one episode where he actually sang, and he was playing the banjo, and he actually sang like really well. Like you could actually hear what he was saying.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that one.
It was just like, oh wow, that's fucking
One of
funny.
my favorite things that Dale did was pocket sand. I was like, you know what? If you really had pocket sand, you would win any fight.
That's true.
Sand in the eyes.
Sand in the eyes.
Guess it's the same as pepper
And of
spray, right?
course, you have his dad. My name is Cornhale. I kill. Feeding me. Thanks there. Did you
I'm
freeze?
just looking at your background right now. It's intriguing. It's like he's
How
really in
high
outer
are you?
space. Not enough. These mushrooms, man.
Oh, that explains it. The mushrooms are really
Yeah.
influencing you. But yeah, funny ass character.
So
Different
yeah.
characters.
Other honorable mentions?
Um. Have you ever seen Bird and Tuca? I'm kind of curious on that show. It's on Netflix. It's with Tiffany
Oh,
Haddish and Ali
yes,
Wong.
I have. I
Yeah,
have. It's like the two girls that work at like an office or something like that, right?
yeah. They're girls. They're animals. They're like different animals. They're like different
Yeah.
birds or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched like one clip of that, and she was talking about her trauma. Like I think she got violated, and then she was talking to the psychologist, and he's like, "Why am I into this kinky stuff? Is it because I went through all this stuff?" And he's like, "No, you just have to let it be. Like whatever happened to your trauma, even without it, you'll still have those kinks or whatever the hell you have." And it was just like very grounded, just very like it felt like real life. But the only
It's
difference is
like
just like
it's kind of like BoJack Horseman
yeah, and it
kind of
was
like
like
deal.
yeah, and it's just like talking about those heavy subject matters in a way that it could be openly expressed, but also they're not really like making fun of it at all. It's just like that's the character,
Yeah.
and then you could have done that like in real live action, but they did it animated. So it's like it works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it works. And it's cool how they do the characters too. It's like half human, half like animal kind of deal.
Yeah, there's a word for it. I forgot. Anthropological. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of cartoons like that where they have like animals act like
Yeah.
humans and stuff. Of course, we did talk about Fritz the cat. Um, Thanks to Moon, we watched that movie. I mean,
Which one?
Fritz the cat.
Oh, I watched that one way before.
Really?
I watched Fritz the Cat when I was
I
I
only
think I
heard
watched
about
Fritz
it.
the Cat on YouTube,
Yeah, I only heard about it,
and
but I never watched it like fully. I was like, oh fuck.
it's crazy, bro.
Yeah,
It's like I can't believe they did this, you know?
yeah, but it's
But
very much in the times as being like this guy that was very expressive and just saying it how it is, and then having all this crazy adventures and shit.
yeah, it
I
was getting high. There was a lot of drug
Yeah,
references and all kinds of
I
shit.
showed that to my friend, and he literally was like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
Yeah,
It's just like, bro, it was the 70s. You had to be there.
that shit was crazy, man.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, those are the bucket lists. Should
yeah,
we move on to sip on this?
yeah. Oh, but just one thing real quick. Invincible. Crazy.
Yeah, Invincible's a good one.
It was really
Amazon
out there.
Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime. It's produced by Seth Rogen, which Seth Rogen has been keeping a good track record of making those type of shows because he's also an EP on The Boys, which is another superhero show that's like very out there and very violent. And
They just
it's
came out
it's
with a new
subverted.
season.
Yeah, it's very subverted with like the superhero trope and what they think like superheroes should be. Invincible is like the same thing, more it's a cartoon, and literally like the first episode, like oh like you would think like oh they're keeping things like pretty cool. The only funny things like he loses an eye or whatever, and then by the end of it, which I was waiting toward the end, like oh I thought this show was gonna be super out there. I waited. I was not disappointed, but also I was fucking shocked. I was just like, oh shit! It's like one of those shows that you're gonna leave your jaw's gonna be like dropped, like in every episode. Like it's just like, wow, like what the fuck, you know?
That's cool.
I can't wait for the next season. This is the same creator. The It's based on a comic that was created by Kirk. What's his name? I forgot his name, but it's the same creator of The Walking Dead. And it's funny because they also had like the cast members of The Walking Dead voicing in Invincible. So it's like, oh, that's funny. So it's
Well,
definitely a good
I mean,
watch.
it's like once they do
Fuck
work
all the
together
animation,
once,
man.
it's like you want to use people that you work well with, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's just fun to like know that and know the voices. And it's like, oh, she voices the girl that she got killed that way. Oh, damn. All right, that's funny. But aside from that, yeah, I think that's the things I could think about. Other things, I really like Boondocks. The Boondocks
Oh
pretty
shit,
funny.
the Boondocks.
The Boondocks is a satire on just like ignorance itself. I rewatched the whole series like I think a year ago, and I got the whole message of that. The whole thing is just like making fun of like the ignorance, not just like in white people, but also like just
In
African
all
Americans.
cultures,
Yeah, in
like,
all cultures and African Americans in itself, and it's just like you know like recognizing like
mhm.
not just like their flaws, but also like how ignorant they are of like their own culture or within themselves and everyone around them, and it's just like fuck like this whole thing about like African American culture is you know um it's I don't want to say really out there, but it's just um they basically just make a commentary on everything that evolves with it. Like you got like the controversial episodes like with MLK coming back to life, or episodes with like R. Kelly and how people like see him
Oh my
as,
god.
and then also just like even like the last episode with Riley having to offend like different groups. What's funny in itself, and it's just like it began with him being a victim, like oh the teacher called me this word, and that by the end of it he's being attacked
Yeah.
for all that shit, and it's just like wow that just really hit the nail on everything on that. But
I
yeah,
mean,
I really enjoy
it's
that
a
show.
like it is a context on society, but I mean, like I feel like because they're kind of pressing those boundaries and stuff too, that's what made people like I feel not want to look at society, not want to look in the mirror as a society, like when
Yeah.
you watch that
They
show.
don't yeah,
You
they
know what
didn't
I'm
want to talk
saying?
about that subject matter, but they really throw it in your face in that fact, you know.
Yeah. I
Just like
really feel
everything
like
that got
that's
involved.
maybe the reason why they're not continuing Boondocks.
Maybe cuz it was based on like a Sunday comic strip. I remember that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And just to see it like as a show now, and it's just like, wow, I did not expect that. They don't even say half the shit that's in the show in the comic strip. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like it
Going
just
off.
goes to show you that the creator wanted to say more, but they couldn't because he
Yeah.
was limited. And of course, we have animated adult animation to actually be there to like push that boundary and express those boundaries and express like what you have to say, even if it's hard to swallow or even hear. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it's all about. So
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
on that,
Sip on this.
sip
Sip
on
on
this, man.
this. What's your sip on this, dude?
Sip on this. Hmm, I want to say a couple, but I guess I have to stick to one. So aside from our fabulous podcast, there's another podcast that I recently started listening to. It's called Smartless, and the three hosts are two members from Arrested Development. You got Jason Bateman and Will Arnett
Oh wow.
together, and also he wasn't in Arrested Development, but he was in Will and Grace. He was the funny gay guy, Jack, in Will and Grace. Um, Sean Hayes, and the three of them make a podcast where they have like featured like guest celebrities, and they just like pick their brain a little bit and just like just they just have fucking fun. And most of them are just it's like mostly like a lot of like comedic actors, but they also have like serious actors. Like they had Liam Neeson, and that shit was fucking funny because they were like talking about like like how actors talk. They're like, oh, like like you wouldn't consider into getting into comedy. I know you would like have the chops for it. I know you were in TED and stuff, and it'll be fun. And then Liam Neeson is just like, yes, but I wouldn't kill people. And I was just like, this guy, this guy's funny. He's really aware of himself. Like, yeah, I don't get to kill people. That would be fun. And they just have fun with like all these like actors, their guests, and then amongst themselves because they do talk about they're humans. They talk about everyday shit. Whether it's like picking up their kids or they did things with their wives and went out and saw a show or two. And it's really funny because most of them are their friends. Like most of the guests are their friends. On their 100th episode, they had Bradley Cooper, and they've been friends with like Bradley Cooper for a while, and they talk about like their upbringings and their like you know how they were and their struggles as an actor and coming up like in Hollywood, even before like they became big. Like with Bradley Cooper being like Hangover. Before that, he
That's
was
cool.
a dude that was just trying to get jobs. So he's just like very real, very grounded, just like fucking funny. And their ads are funny too. And these are three amazing like actors that they're great on their own levels. Of course, you got Jason Bateman who just made fucking Ozark, finished the season. Got Will Arnett who did like BoJack Horseman, which we talk about. And of course, we got like Sean Hayes, which he was Jack from Will and Grace, among other things. And that shit was cool. So I recommend that podcast. Listen to this and then listen to that podcast. That's all I will say.
That's cool. Okay. Well, honestly, man, I just got off on summer break, so I have some more time on my hands to look things up. I was looking yesterday and I noticed there's a brand new season. This is gonna be a two-parter because I got two things to talk about. Brand new season of Peaky Blinders out
Yeah, I saw
on
that.
Netflix. Haven't watched it yet. I want to get back into it. I love fucking Peaky Blinders. I'm gonna go back into it and I'm gonna
Pick your
watch that
fucking
new
blondness.
season and we're gonna talk about that soon. You know where it's at, people. If you haven't watched Peaky Blinders, you gotta check it out. It's like basically like how gangsters started running the world from like the 1800s and on.
I'm sorry.
And
It's about British gangsters
yeah,
being
coming
gangsters in
back from the
British
war
and coming
and
back
being
from the world.
gangsters and finding their way of life and shit like that, and
Yeah.
some dope actors in there. And there's even that one guy from Mary Poppins.
Every fucking Poppins.
Mr. Banks. He's in this show, all right? But
Shit
he's a
nuts.
constable. He's like one of the main heads of the police force and stuff like that.
Me and Tom Hanks. No, wait, that was it.
Forget what the dude's name is.
I
But
forgot what
he's
his
in
name is.
there. He's in there. And then this is my second parter on Sip on this. I went to the store the other day and I found an 805. Okay,
Oh, you finally
not a
found it?
not a tall can,
But 32?
a 32
You finally found
of
one?
805. They have it. Okay,
I told you they have it.
dude, I didn't believe it until I saw it. But they have 32s of 805 right now. One and doneer, baby. One and doneer.
Yeah, I was trying to find that
Great.
today, but I went to Total Wine in the morning. I was like, But I just got a pack of the Japanese beer that I got
They're
mentioned before.
$5 for a 32.
Hey, you want to drink
That's
more?
how much a 32 usually is, though.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah, 805s, 32. All right,
They're out now.
sweet,
Yeah, hey,
cool, man. All right, hit the button.
Right.
Welcome to Golden Craft. Where to catch us at
So,
Golden Craft Cast on Instagram. And yeah, catch us on there. Catch us on Twitch.
catch us
Probably gonna
anyway.
get back on there soon. Or
Probably gonna be on
We
YouTube.
got a YouTube too.
Yep.
And yeah, man, holler at us. Let us know what you think for some good topics and some good beers.
Yeah.
We're keeping it classy.
So-
SoCal.
Yep. Let us know what your favorite animation series is. We'll put a question on Spotify if you listen to Spotify. So check in on that. All right.
Oh yeah, we're on Spotify and all major listening stations.
So check us out on that. So without further ado, goodbye.
Love, peace, and chicken grease, people.
Good night and good luck. Good day.